An interesting dichotomy that I've seen over the years is the tug-of-war for power between the big daddy engaged supports in the game and the little enchanters that bring all their power in different ways. Although they're as different in playstyle as they can be, both champion archetypes still have their own place in the meta. In this video, I'll talk about and define the benefits of both styles of support champions, situations where one may be better than the other, and why it's so hard for them to coexist in balance. So let's start off with an establishment of the champion identities of both champion styles. Starting with Enchanters, they're known to provide their value from the backline and being able to constantly provide bonus stats to the champions that they can assist. The value being provided will vary from champion to champion, and each enchanter can bring a lot to the table. Lulu brings a lot of peel potential and can greatly increase the DPS of most auto attack based champions. Soraka brings a ton of healing to the entire team and can be a really disgusting threat in the right hands. And champions like Karma have been good due to her insane poke and ability to boost up multiple champions at once. While most of the time they won't be the champions to force plays or to start things up on the map, their presence will be felt and they provide very high impact and meaningful contributions if left untouched. The main other thing they're known for is likely their relatively weak early game strength into matchups against champions that have engage. This helps us segue well into these engaged champions actually. So, engaged supports are actually on the complete opposite end of the spectrum here. Instead of providing value with their stats on the backline, they are the ones that are doing a majority of the playmaking, showing their value directly in the front of the fight. They lead the charge, force plays to happen, and get gold advantages through blood, war, and making plays on the map. They don't provide much in the way of the stat boosts or DPS increases or other creature comforts that the Enchanter supports have, but make up for it really hard with their playmaking ability. It is for this reason that engaged supports are also extremely popular in the meta right now at the professional level, because their engaged tools are extremely vital to team play, and there's not many other roles right now that can provide the same level of consistent engage that these engaged supports can. Stylistically, we have seen metagames where both styles of champions have been successful in the past, but very infrequently do we see a metagame where both types of champions can actually coexist easily. The meta is either entirely dominated by enchanter supports becoming absolutely unkillable and providing insane power to their teams, or by the engaged champions that completely overpower these enchanters and make it impossible for them to be relevant. There's no in between, there's no balance between the two, it's essentially complete dominance from either one end or the other. So why are the two classes so impossible to balance? When we look at it, it actually is possible that both styles can exist in harmony with each other, and we've had metagames where we've gotten really close to that point. Champions like Lulu and Karma tend to fly in and out of the meta pretty often. We've had cases where champions like Yumi can succeed even, and all of these champions managed to exist in a metagame where it was generally still dominated by many of these go button engaged supports. But usually there's some sort of factor that pushes the optimal pick to one way or the other, and this has to do with the internal identities of these two champion classes, especially with the different ways that these two champion classes succeed. Because enchanters are generally so focused on providing value to the backline, their kits are usually designed such that the value they provide is so overwhelming it's impossible for there to be a response for the enemy engage. Another reason for this a lot of the time is that many enchanters are equipped with tools that increase their survivability and create this really annoying, ratty playstyle that makes them really frustrating to play against. Players will cringe at any meta with champs like Lulu or Janna because they make it absolutely impossible for them to die and makes for really frustrating gameplay. Older players may remember the meta with Ardent Censer, an item that literally made the win condition for the game whichever enchanter got that item first, and just buffed up their AD carry to be an unkillable ball of stats. This cancerous, no counterplay sort of gameplay is exactly why League's design team is so careful about enchanters and actually generally prefers to allow engaged champions to be the premier support archetype right now. It's not that they're innately against enchanter champions, as a lot of the player base, including myself actually, really enjoys playing them because they really are fun. but engaged champions generally offer more balanced gameplay and gameplay that is more exhilarating to watch. In the competitive space, creating an environment that encourages thoughtful playmaking and creative decision making makes for excellent games to watch, and big engaged supports like Rel, Thresh, or Leona can facilitate that sort of exhilarating gameplay. Contrast that with Enchanter champions that are relatively one-dimensional in comparison. As long as you're in the back and doing your job, there's not much to be said in the way of playmaking. This is why they're both kind of unfun to watch and to play against, and many players don't find it really skillful to play them. So overall, although I do think that there can be a balance between both enchanters and engaged champions in the game, it's an extremely hard thing to find, and due to the extremely different playstyle, it isn't something that's realistic most of the time. With that being said though, I still think both types of champions have their place in the meta and can provide interesting and differing metagames, providing decent opportunities for both kinds of support players to exist. That's it for me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay fresh.